Hello and welcome to Cronkite Sports Live, our final show of the year. I'm Alex Capriello. That's Jake Garcia. 2016 has been a wild ride filled with Sun Devil highs and lows. And trust me when I tell you that we have enjoyed giving you that inside look into the world of Arizona State sports.
Yeah, a lot of memorable Sun Devil moments this year, but let's start with a memory that ASU fans can't erase quickly enough. The football season. A promising start turned into a predictable finish, and here we sit, Alex, witnesses of a team that spiraled out of control down the stretch.
That's right, they certainly did, and although ASU failed to earn those 6 wins needed for bowl eligibility, that doesn't mean that they can't reach that end of the season benchmark. However, both South Alabama and Louisiana Lafayette would have to lose in order for ASU to even be considered for the final spot.
And we're keeping it locked in on football as Troy Lynch joins us in studio. Troy, in all likelihood, ASU's season is over, but we have some plays to break down exactly what put them in this situation. Against U of A last week, they got steamrolled, and interestingly, it was against the run and not against the pass, a problem that had been pestering them all season long. First play, Samaje Grant, 55 yards.
Yeah, that whole game, ASU's defense was just completely backwards. Normally, they're horrible on the pass attack, but this time they were horrible on the run attack. And I have 2 examples of Samaje Grant just taking it right up the middle, a really simple play. Let's take a look at the first play, shall we? So, as you can see, pretty basic formation from both sides. Cover 2 for Arizona State's defense. Then after that, just a normal, simple formation for Arizona's offense. Now you take a look at Samaje Grant. He's going to get the handoff right here. Let's zoom in on Salamo Fiso. He's going to be the guy outlined by this yellow circle right here. He makes the wrong read to the left side. Now that wouldn't be that big of a deal if Runnin did not get blown up at the line of scrimmage. That makes this huge hole for Samaje Grant to go right down the middle. Not just that, he goes untouched. He starts at their own 15-yard line. He ends up on Arizona State's 25-yard line. That just cannot happen. I don't know why they're running a cover 2 formation when Arizona, the entire second half, they just did not pass. 325 yards on the ground in the second half, and they almost averaged 15 yards a carry.
Well, it's interesting when you put it in the context that ASU has been switching between cover 2 and cover 4 for the greater part of the second half of the season, but that's not their identity. So maybe they're going through a little bit of an identity crisis right now where scheme and the skill sets of players don't really match up. But play number 2 is more of the same, problems against the run.
It really is, and once again, let's take a look. It's the same exact problem. There's one thing I really want to highlight, and that's the 3 guys way in the backfield. Take a look at the top 1, 2, and 3. They're at least 10 yards off the line of scrimmage. You talk about a prevent defense, well, here it is right now. Once again, this is the same exact play, just coming from the other side. We'll zoom in on our good pal Salamo Fiso again. Don't mean to pick on the guy, but he goes through the wrong hole. That's the same exact hole that Runnin is supposed to go through, and what happens again? A ginormous pathway where Grant is able to go right through, and then after that, and you take a look at Chandler at the bottom of the screen, he misses his tackle, and then it's off to the races, and Grant, he's just so good in the open field. Easy 6 for Arizona.
Well, that's the story of the season right now for Arizona State. Missed tackles, poor angles, and a defense right now that's in shambles and probably not going to get a lot of help into the 2017 season. That's Troy as we conclude our analysis on ASU football. He's not done, though. He has some sights and sounds of the second half of the season and where it all went wrong for the Sun Devils.
Arizona State's season was off to a great 5-1 start, but after losing quarterback Manny Wilkins in a loss against USC, the season started to take a turn. Up comes UCLA, and Brady White gets his first collegiate start at QB. He was able to lead ASU to a 23-20 win, but suffered a season-ending injury. But senior kicker Zane Gonzalez was able to make the night one Sun Devil fans won't forget.
For Zane Gonzalez, set, the kick, it's up, it's low and to the left, but it is good! Wow. There is a new record record here in Tempe. Zane Gonzalez, he is now the NCAA leader in field goals made in a career. It took 45 games for him to make 89.
The next week, Colorado destroyed ASU 40-16, beating the Sun Devils for the first time in program history, making ASU 5-2 on the season. The drama increased for the Sun Devils as Washington State accused Todd Graham of sign stealing the week of the game. Luke Falk and the Cougars were too much for ASU, and after the game, Graham made sure that WSU head coach Mike Leach knew that his sign stealing accusations were chicken related. A struggling Oregon team was next on ASU's schedule, where fourth-string quarterback Dylan Sterling Cole got his first career start. But even with Balage's strong performance, Sterling Cole's 3 interceptions helped the Ducks take the W 54-35 as ASU went into the bye week with double-digit injured players. After the bye week, Utah came to Sun Devil Stadium for ASU's senior night, but it was the freshman N'Keal Harry that stole the show with a crazy 31-yard touchdown run and 114 receiving yards. But the Sun Devils were bullied by the Utes in the second half, losing 49-26 and their 4th game in a row. Things did not get any easier with number 6 Washington next on the schedule. And in the first half, Kevin King had one of the craziest interceptions that you'll ever see. The Sun Devils were held without a touchdown until J.J. Wilson hauled in 2 late in the second half. But the Huskies were too good, pounding ASU 44-18. Then the Territorial Cup rolls around, where ASU was actually favored, as U of A had yet to win a game in Pac-12 play. However, the Kitties had no pity for the Sun Devils as they ran all over ASU with 511 yards on the ground, continuing ASU's losing streak to 6 games and forced the Sun Devils to end their season with a 5-7 overall record.
As you can see, some absolutely brilliant shots from the sideline. That was videography by Troy Lynch. We're going to switch gears here and head to men's basketball. And among the ASU faithful, there are high expectations for the team in Coach Bobby Hurley's 2nd season. But Pac-12 preseason polls tell a different story. The media have the Sun Devils pegged to finish 11th in the conference, and a 46-point loss to Kentucky only serves to underline those predictions. So we bring in Troy Tauscher to talk a little bit about the team and break down the remainder of the Sun Devils preseason. Troy, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
You bet. Now, like I said, that loss to Kentucky was pretty ugly. What went wrong for the Sun Devils there?
Well, the first thing I look at from the Kentucky box score is the fact that ASU shot 34% from the floor, and you're just not going to win many games if you allow that many possessions to go by without getting any points, particularly if you're playing against the best collegiate team in the country and arguably the best one in the entire Western Hemisphere. Now, the second thing I looked at from that game is ASU's defense, because they play really active defense. They like to switch, they like to rotate, they like to play zone, and when they're that active, it creates a problem because you have to execute that perfectly against such a great team, or you're going to miss rotations and leave shooters open, and that's what they did. They weren't able to adapt their defense given the talent gap with their opposition, and that's why the game ultimately turned from a tough contest to a blowout in favor of the Wildcats.
Right, and Kentucky probably is going to be the toughest matchup they had in that non-conference schedule, but there are still some ahead. So who do you think are going to be some of those opponents that are going to give the Sun Devils trouble?
Well, early in December, they play number 15 Purdue, and the player I'm really scared of for ASU in that game is sophomore Caleb Swanigan. He averages 18 points and 12 rebounds a game, and his ability to get above the rim is going to make him a really tough matchup for this smaller ASU team. So that's a tough game right out of the gate. And then later on in December, they play number 10 Creighton. Now, they beat the Blue Jays at home last season, but this Creighton team is very different from the one ASU will be seeing this time around. They're 7-0 right now, haven't lost a game. They're top in the Big East Conference in terms of offense, and ASU is going to have to be really prepared for a shootout if they want to have a chance there. But the game I really look at on the schedule, and this one I think is the most important, is against San Diego State University between these two games against ranked opponents. Because San Diego State, they're 4-1, but they're not ranked. And ASU has to prove it can beat good teams, but not maybe top 10 ones, if they want to have a successful season. So that's the game I'm really looking at to see how the Sun Devils play against opposition that's a little more at their level. as they go into the conference schedule.
Right. And next up on the docket is actually UNLV and the Running Rebels. What can ASU fans expect to see from this opponent?
Well, this Rebels team is really interesting. They lost their top 6 scorers from last season, also have a new head coach, and yet despite these changes, things are still all right there. They're 5-2. They haven't played the toughest schedule, but they've beaten teams that they should beat. And overall, they've looked solid. They can pass the ball. They can score on the perimeter. And Bobby Hurley's talked about how the Sun Devils have to use their quickness and be feisty on the defensive end. And that's really going to come to light in this game because, like I said, they're a team that can spread the floor. They can move the ball around and find shooters. And ASU is going to have to be mobile and play good fundamental defense if they want to beat this Rebels team. And I think if they do that, they'll be able to get this win before the tougher part of their schedule starts as the month of December rolls on.
Well, Coach Bobby Hurley and his Arizona State Sun Devils certainly have their hands full with the rest of this non-conference slate. That's Troy Tauscher. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
74% of ASU hockey's roster is underclassmen. It makes sense. It's a program in year 2 of existence. And as the team continues to cherish a loaded farm, head coach Greg Powers recently received commitments from 5 well-regarded recruits. Here's Dominic Atronio with more.
ASU hockey head coach Greg Powers uses the slogan, "Be the tradition," in the early years of his program. It seems to be working, too, with the 13th ranked recruiting class coming to Tempe next season. It's also a balanced class with 4 forwards, 3 defensemen, and 1 goalie. Let's take a closer look at the class, starting with the forwards. It's hard not to begin with a name like Lemieux, since Austin Lemieux has verbally committed to ASU, and yes, he's the son of Penguins legend Mario Lemieux. Derek Brown is a verbal commit from the Bonneville Pontiacs, which is the same team that produced the Pashnuk brothers, Brinson and Steen. Tyler Maltby and Johnny Walker slot at number 41 and 45 respectively for the top 50 in the 96 class, and both have already signed their letters of intent. Defensively, Patrick Kudla has the potential to start in his first game on campus in 2017. Property of the Coyotes, he's the second best recruit available from the 1996 class, and he carries a 4.5-star rating. The other 2 Blue Liners come from 2 very different backgrounds. Vito Jansen hails from Latvia, while Jacob Wilson calls Missouri home. Lastly, only 1 goalie has committed to this class, given the youth at the position with Rylan Pashevitz and Joey DeCord. Jackson Castor is a verbal commit from the Dubuque Fighting Saints and is among the best in the USHL. Both his goals against average and save percentage rank in the top 5 among qualifiers. The verbal commits are expected to sign come April on the second signing day for the hockey class, and the foundation is growing stronger each day at ASU Hockey. Reporting for Cronkite Sports, I'm Dominic Catronio.
Coach Charlie Turner Thorne and her women's basketball team spent their holiday in Las Vegas for the South Point Thanksgiving tournament. Our women's basketball reporter Eliav Gabai made the trek and has the story on how the Sun Devils fared in Sin City.
Together on 3, 1, 2, 3, together!
The Arizona State women's basketball team traveled to Las Vegas, Nevada Thanksgiving weekend to participate in their first tournament of the season, the South Point Thanksgiving Shootout. In their first of 2 games, the Sun Devils faced number 5 ranked Maryland. The Terrapin defense was absolutely suffocating behind their physicality and 3-quarter press, forcing ASU to shoot just 28% from the field and have 20 turnovers on the game. Maryland got out and running for a lot of easy buckets, giving them a 34-point halftime lead. The only player to score in double digits for Arizona State was freshman guard Riley Richardson, who tallied 12 points, and even though ASU had a better second half of action, the deficit was too much to overcome, and Arizona State lost 83-42. In their second day of action, the Sun Devils went up against St. John's, and this time it was a different story. Arizona State started the game on fire behind the smooth post moves and hard-nosed defense of senior center Quinn Dornstadter, who finished with 12 points and 4 rebounds. The ASU ball movement was crisp, and everything was going their way. Sun Devils senior Sophie Bruner led all scorers with 15 points in addition to her 5 boards to help her team win 54-41.
We need to, have more fun. Let's be loose, let's be relaxed, but let's have fun and lock teams down because that's when it's really fun. The chemistry is still work in progress, but I think each day we're taking a step in the right direction with it.
After 2 games in Vegas, head coach Charlie Turner Thorne is optimistic about the direction her team is headed.
It's just a process for us this year, and I think we're going to have a lot of really good stuff, things that we need to work on to take home, and I think we can be a pretty awesome basketball team.
After falling to Maryland in the first game and earning a win against St. John's in the second game, ASU now stands 3-2 overall after the South Point Thanksgiving Shootout Tournament, going into the ASU Classic that starts in December 3rd and goes into December 4th, which will surely test the team's stamina and ability to grind out some wins. But for now, from South Point Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, I'm Eliav Gabay, reporting for Cronkite Sports.
Excellent work there by Eliav, traveling out to Las Vegas, following around the ASU women's basketball team. We're back in our downtown Phoenix studios, though, and joined now by Gavin Shaw for our final social media segment of the semester.
Appreciate it, Jake. Last show of the year, as you said, so I wanted to go to the most magical place on earth, or at least the most magical place in Anaheim, Disneyland. And the tweet clearly showing no pity for the kitty. So I think there might be a small ethical issue here. I'll explain it to you, Jake. Disney owns ESPN. ESPN broadcasts the Territorial Cup. Disney showing that the mouse does indeed bleed maroon and gold. Do you see a problem?
There is a problem, but I want to say that this would be a perfect case for Google reverse images. Input that picture into Google, and it'll tell you if it's a real one or not, because I'm sensing it might be photoshopped. Who knows? You know how creative people can get, and I think they'd go to any extent to show their fandom and to show Disney showcasing their same fandom. If it's not photoshopped, though, I say clear ethical violation all the way.
All right, I appreciate you showing off some real journalism chops there. Apparently the 4 years did do something for Jake and all the rest of us. All right, second tweet, we're going to stick with the football theme. Grant Martinez showing that the campaign season never really does end, advocating for Zane Gonzalez, the Sun Devils star kicker, to win the Lou Groza Award. Could you guys say no to that face?
You know, I really couldn't. It's good to know that not only does he got the leg, but he's got the looks, too. It's good for our Sun Devil brand here.
Yeah, Lou Groza Award winner gets announced December 8th, and I think Zane Gonzalez is the favorite for that, and that's despite his missed 50-yard field goal against U of A last week. And I think him being shirtless only adds to that appeal. The committee's really going to look at that and say, this is a guy who we want to represent as the face of this award.
True.
Yeah, you know, there's that old stereotype with kickers that they never work the upper body. Zane Gonzalez proving once and for all that is false. Third and final tweet, I wanted to get a little nostalgic. It's Alex's final show, potentially Jake's final show. So I stuck with the senior who's also getting nostalgic, Cassidy Pickrell, volleyball star, her final game, saying she wants to re-enroll in Arizona State under an assumed name. So I asked you guys, Jacob Garcia, Clex Apariello, or AA Apariello,
Yeah.
Would you guys go through with this plan?
I would. I mean, in fact, I like that name. It might be my new rap name. Single's coming out soon.
Hey, if it's an NCAA violation, count me in.
All right, everyone check out Clex's debut album. I'm going to sign off as Savin Gall for the day.
Well, thanks, Gavin, for joining us as always. We're going to transition, though, to ASU volleyball. And in surprising news, head coach Stevie Mussey will not be returning next season. Despite a 3-game winning streak to close out the year, the Sun Devils finished 8 games below 500, a significant regression from a stellar 2015 season in which Jason Watson was at the helm. Here's the statement from Ray Anderson, quote, Sun Devil volleyball coach Stevie Mussey is no longer with the program. We will launch a national search immediately for her successor. Sanja Tomasevich will act as the interim head volleyball coach, with Brad Keenan continuing to serve as head volleyball for the beach style coach.
Our swim and dive reporter Ryan Curry now joins us live from Mona Plummer Aquatic Center in Tempe. Ryan, the men are undefeated and just won a major invitational. Now, you've mentioned in the past how good the coaching staff is, but why have the men been able to achieve so much success?
Well, Alex, I can tell you the main reason why the team is doing so well is the depth they have at each position. They've been able to return key swimmers from last year like Richard Boas and Barkley Perry, as well as Patrick Park. On top of that, they've had a lot of newcomers perform exponentially well. If you look at Andrew Porter and Thibaut Capitan from Gray Shirts last year, they've added significant depth to their strokes. Also, you can't help but mention freshman Cameron Craig has been an absolute stud this year for the swim team. Right now, Cameron Craig is ranked in the top 5 in several events in the entire country, and he's looking pretty strong going forward to the rest of the season.
Now, the team's schedule won't be easy going forward. Next semester, they'll have to face both Cal and Stanford. Ryan, what is ASU going to have to do to contend with these two powerhouses?
Well, Stanford and Cal are among some of the best swim teams in the entire country right now. Stanford won the Pac-12 tournament last year, and they are returning a lot of that talent to this year's squad. Plus, Cal has got a lot of Olympians that were in Rio this past summer, so it's not going to be easy for Arizona State. the only way that ASU is going to have a chance to at least contend with these two teams is going to have to come in their training. So over the next 6 weeks, the team that's training right behind me is going to spend a lot of time working on stroke mechanics, endurance, and tempo so they can be in the best shape possible to contend with these two teams.
Ryan, we appreciate you taking some time to join us from the Aquatic Center for swim and dive coverage all year long. Make sure you keep up with Ryan and his team at cronkitesports.com. It's now the time for everyone's favorite game, the way it is. By now, you guys should know the drill. It's 3 questions, 3 answers, lightning fast responses. Jake, I'll toss you the first one. What's the next bit of news that you're expecting to hear from ASU football?
Well, I think all the fans are thinking that one of these coaches is going to get fired, whether it be Todd Graham or defensive coordinator Keith Patterson. I say smaller steps at first. There might be some recruiting news that comes out, maybe some players transferring as well. We already saw that with Jason Lewis going, Colton Gerhardt leaving the program. Right now, there's an environment around ASU football, and it's not a good one, and players probably don't want to associate themselves with that environment.
Right.
So question number 2, we kind of teased it in my answer, but Todd Graham might be on the hot seat. To some, he's considered on the hot seat. If he isn't right now, will he be next year?
I mean, it's a no-brainer. He's definitely on the hot seat. In college football, it's a ruthless business where there are a lot of great candidates out there that would jump on this position in a heartbeat. So I think Todd Graham needs to win at least 8 games in 2017 in order to keep his job. Now, we just talked about it a little bit. Stevie Mussey, head volleyball coach, was unexpectedly, in a way, she left the program. Now, was this a mistake on ASU's behalf to let her go?
I don't know if it was a mistake, but it's not that big of a surprise. Considering maybe the false sense of security that was established in 2015, ASU's never been a volleyball powerhouse, and in 2015, they definitely were. So you expect that to continue if you're these fans and you have high expectations, but to finish 8 games below 500 isn't acceptable if you're Ray Anderson and trying to instill a winning culture. On to ASU women's basketball, though. Do you think it's reasonable to assume that they repeat last year's success?
I don't know about reasonable. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. 26-7 was their final record last year, and they were able to get that 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. So to be able to match that, I think it's going to be tough. Now, don't tell Coach Charlie Turner-Thorne that. I wouldn't want to be on her bad side. Now, winter break is just right around the corner. What's going to be on your radar? What are you looking out for over this break in terms of ASU athletics?
Well, I think there's going to be some signings for the ASU football team because right now they haven't signed a lot of guys and they lag really far behind other programs in that department. They need an influx of youth in a bad way. But we know ASU isn't a football school. What they might be is a women's basketball school, and that's when their schedule really starts to ramp up. I'll be watching that over winter break. So that's a look ahead. Now let's have a look behind. What was your favorite memory from this past semester?
Well, it's got to be the showing of Arizona State former and current students at the Rio Olympics. There was 23 of them in total, so it was really great to me to see our school and our athletes on the largest stage of them all.
So as we do with every show, time now for our producers to pick a winner. And I think this will be the decisive one of the semester.
Oh,
that was
come
me
on.
When I graduated once. Why not do it twice?
All right, all right.
All right, so as the semester ends, now is a useful time for Cronkite Sports, us, as an organization, to look introspectively. The vision is a model that all good journalism adheres to, a public service. A right to information is critical, and whether that information is sensitive or not is besides the point. In a climate in which good journalism is more valuable than ever, we can't turn a blind eye to the tenets that have gotten us to this point. Tenets that say we aggressively seek information and then publish responsibly and accurately. Yes, we're entirely student-run, but we can be trusted to do that. We've done so for the past 8 years, and we don't plan on changing. That's the way it is. All right, top plays of the semester. We got 5 of them for you on this show. That's Obina Oleka playing down low in the center position. Even though he's a power forward, they call that the death lineup.
To number 4, we saw these all season long. Manny goes up, up, and away as he hurdles another defender. And there's one more ahead of you.
Yeah, different game, same idea. Kalen Balaj, clickbait, jumps over the Cal defender, and ASU ultimately wins that game in a shootout.
Number 2, this was a very, very great moment for ASU athletics. That's Zane Gonzalez. We saw him earlier in our social media segment, booting that 46-yard kick that put him on top of the leaderboard. Looking forward to seeing him in the NFL.
ASU Texas Tech for play number 1. Kalen Balaj's Starboy game. He says, "Get off me." NCAA record, 8 touchdowns in that one. For many players, he made their whole year in a week, too.
That was an absolutely nasty game. Did you know before that game, he only had 8 career touchdowns?
I did. Did you also know that he had 16 total throughout the season? So exactly half in that one game.
I guess we know everything, don't we? That's it for our Cronkite Sports Live show, the last one of the year. We thank you so much for joining us.
And remember to follow us on Twitter at Cronkite Sports. Like our Facebook page. We'll be back same time, same place next semester.